After a shaky Phase 4 of the MCU, Phase 5 is finally here with Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantamania. What does it mean for the future of the MCU? And is Kang a viable villain to take us forward? Let's chat about it. Hey guys, Bruce from Wasp Popping here, and we are going to be talking about Ant-Man Quantamania. Now, I want to start off the video by thanking Disney for having me at the press preview screening for this. It was great to have a chance to see the film a little bit early and get this review and discussion out to everyone. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Ant-Man Quantamania, the basic plot, some of the things that the movie got right, some of the things I feel the movie got wrong, and what the future of the MCU is going to look like for Phase 5. This film basically follows Ant-Man and the Ant-Fam as they journey back into the quantum realm to deal with a whole lot of threats and some unfinished business down there. The movie starts off with Scott Lang, our protagonist, living his best Avengers life. I really enjoy Paul Rudd's performance. It is one of the highlights for me throughout all of the Ant-Man films. I feel like Ant-Man is the hero we can all relate to, because I feel like if we were given the same opportunities as him to become an Avenger and do all these incredible things, we'd also want to bask in that glory a little bit, and that is exactly what he's doing at the beginning of this film. It is so much fun to see, you know, we've seen the fallout of the blip from a negative perspective of people losing their homes and coming back, you know, after having disappeared for so long. We actually see someone who's kind of benefited from the whole endgame scenario and is living off of that, and that is the question that's posed to him at the beginning of this film by his daughter Cassie. She says, basically, you can't live in this glory forever. What are you going to do next? What is your move forward? And that's something kind of gets Scott's brain ticking, but we don't have too much time to think about that because we are immediately thrown back into the quantum realm. So let's start off by chatting about some of the things that I think the film got right. Like I said, I think Paul Rudd's performance was sterling. I really enjoy him as Ant-Man. He is, like I said, the everyman. He's charismatic, he's a lot of fun, and you can see he has fun playing Ant-Man, and that's something that always comes across through the screen. You know, you can see he's having a good time, he's having a good time, we're having a good time. But what is really great about this film is that for the first time, pun intended, we actually see Ant-Man grow into his role as a superhero. In this film, we actually see him like be a real badass. He really, at the end of this film, when the chips are down, takes up that role and does that big superhero thing that needs to be done at the end of the film. And I found that really refreshing from Ant-Man's perspective. We've seen him as Giant Man, we've seen him running around in the background of MCU films, but we haven't seen him actually in a fight where he is, there are big stakes and he is bringing it. We see him, I mean, the first fight we see with Ant-Man, he's fighting on like a mini train set, right? There's no, you know, the scale is obviously the fun of it is that it's an Ant-Man movie and he's really small and they're fighting within small areas. But in this case, they go big, and it's brutal. There's blood shown in this film, which is something I didn't expect Disney to do, and I haven't seen them do for quite a while. And I think that is a really good choice that they made. Running along that theme of good choices they made, Jonathan Majors as Kang was absolutely incredible. He stole the show in absolutely every scene he was in. He, you know, from the first time we introduced to him, I mean, obviously we've seen him in Loki, we've seen him at the end of that, end of the Loki series, where I found him incredibly charismatic and somewhat threatening at the same time. I you know, even when he laughs, you're not quite sure what's behind that laugh. Is it a laugh where he's wanting to laugh with you, or is he thinking about something that he's seen before? And this Kang is, you know, obviously a variant of that Kang, so to see the subtleties that Jonathan Majors is bringing to the different variants is really exciting, and something I'm looking forward to seeing more of as we move through Phase 5. But when we're introduced to Kang, he is frightening because we know what he is. We've been introduced to how threatening and dangerous this character is, but he is able to find someone's weakness and manipulate them. And that instant manipulation to me makes a villain very frightening, because now suddenly we have to question all of their motivations. If we know they're capable of manipulating somebody, when they make a decision, why are they making that decision? What are they going about? What is their motivation behind every single thing they do? And with a character as measured as Kang, that just adds a level of terror to this character that Jonathan Majors portrayed on the screen. And he is powerful. He is an incredibly powerful Kang, definitely somebody that I can see being an Avengers level threat as we move forward through the MCU. And what I found really fascinating about him was that it almost felt like he had been watching all of the Marvel movies with us, because what made him so frightening in his dialogue and his chats with Ant-Man was he was never fazed by anything. You know, Ant-Man would mention the Avengers and he'd say, yeah, I've seen the Avengers. I've killed them in thousands of universes. Have I killed you before? I don't even remember, because I've been dealing with all of you for so long. So he knows our heroes just as well as we do, if not better. And he's never phased. He takes everything in his stride. When things aren't going his way, he just kind of shrugs off and goes, you know what, I'll figure it out, because I've seen all of this before. And the motivations that they give the character are really, really compelling. I feel like he has got a good foundation. Not that we necessarily agree with what he's doing, but we can understand why this character is moving through the multiverse the way he is, and why he is trying to take over and conquer the way he is. I think the outfit works really well. His suit looks amazing. Good job of incorporating kind of the blue comic book look by having that sort of mask that comes down over his face. I think that works really well. Marvel has kind of made the decision to make these Ant-Man movies linchpins within the universe. It's almost like they didn't trust Ant-Man as a draw card enough to bring people into the cinema, that they would sort of add, you know, okay, he's teaming up as part of Cap's crew in Civil War, or, you know, okay, we're going to have him appear just before Endgame, and we're going to make sure that that post-credit scene is setting something up for Endgame. In this movie, ultimately, I think that as the audience, we're there for Kang, and I hate to say that because I do love Ant-Man, but the movie just gets exponentially better as soon as Kang is introduced. Before I start getting into negatives about the film, I think something I really enjoyed is Michael Douglas's performance. We actually see him in this movie taking on the role that I think we would have if we were in the quantum realm. He is familiar with it, but there's so much, there are so many new things for him to see that he is kind of still astounded by everything. He has some familiarity with what's going on, the same way that we visited the quantum realm before. He is now in the quantum realm again, but we are seeing whole new facets of the quantum realm. We're seeing different societies, different cultures, different people, different organisms, and I think the decision to have things like vehicles and houses actually be living organisms is a really cool inspiration to bring into this film. Okay, now we're going to start getting into a little bit of spoiler territory, so consider yourself warned. In terms of what I think didn't work in this film, personally, I think that the first act was a little bit convoluted. There was a lot happening. They separated the characters kind of, in my opinion, unnecessarily, just to, you know, kind of showcase, I think, different parts of the quantum realm. And there was a lot of what felt like the realm finding itself. They're trying to show lots of different things, and instead of just making one decision and sticking with it, we see what feels like aspects borrowed from films like Avatar and Star Wars and Journey to the Center of the Earth, and those kind of aspects all brought together in this initial sequence. I find Michelle Pfeiffer's Hope incredibly frustrating just during this portion of the film. It is made abundantly clear to us as the audience that she knows Kang. She knows a lot more about the quantum realm than she's letting on. And what is highly frustrating to me is that the other characters know that she knows these things and ask her about it, and all she says is, I'll tell you later, or I can't tell you now. And I don't understand if the writers were trying to build tension or try and heighten stakes in some crazy way, but it just frustrated me because now I've got a character who has no compelling reason not to tell everybody else what's going on, because it's going to help everybody, and that made me really irritated with her character and frustrated with the other protagonists because they just accepted it. They didn't press her on it, they didn't ask her, they didn't say, actually, you know, can you tell us a bit more? No, they're like, oh, okay, you'll tell us later. And that just did not sit well with me. I did feel that as the film went on, the quantum realm kind of settled, and I don't know, maybe I was just getting used to the CGI. It felt more natural, it felt a bit more lived in, maybe because it got wackier and the movie took itself less seriously, and you just kind of buy into it and you're just like, okay, this is awesome, we're going to see 1,000 Ant-Mans running around fighting with each other, and then finally coming together, which I thought was a really cool scene, where ultimately, you know, Ant-Man's tasked with going and getting something for Kang, and he has to, as he enters this area, he ends up, you know, splitting and diverging, and it's all these different versions of Ant-Man that are appearing as different possibilities become probable. And he has to find a way of working with these other Ant-Men to sort of, you know, get to the goal. And what they do so well in that scene is actually draw on ants and ant behavior to kind of, you know, almost like a hive mind approach. I guess ants are kind of in the cultural zeitgeist at the moment with The Last of Us and the cordyceps and all that kind of stuff. But there's a really cool scene where all those ants are working together over their shared love for Cassie, and I did thoroughly enjoy that. And that is a scene where I feel like the CGI worked really well. It was kept really simple. They had all, you know, 1,000 million, I don't know how many Paul Rudds, all working together to get into the goal, and that worked well. There was some really wacky stuff going on there. MODOK. was not a character that I enjoyed in this film at all. I'm not a huge MODOK fan, so I'm probably not the target audience for this character, but I felt like they didn't make a decision with him. They weren't sure if he was going to be funny or if he was going to be like really darkly evil, and it just didn't work. It didn't mesh for me. I know that obviously the character has entered the quantum realm and been kind of morphed and changed by that, but as soon as he took that mask off and we saw that CGI face, I didn't know whether to laugh or just feel really kind of uncomfortable, and I don't know. And then, you know, what worked well for Kang was he didn't fall into the MCU trap of being someone who has to crack a joke every few seconds. When he was talking, he was serious. He looked at you in the eyes and said, I'm going to do this. I don't care if I have to brush you aside. This is what's going to happen. And that made him threatening. It heightened the stakes. It made things, you know, compelling. And with MODOK, it was like jumping between, is he violent and a killer? Is he full of regret for things he's done? Or is he going to crack jokes? And the way they go in the end is that he ends up cracking a whole lot of jokes, and they even sort of make fun of his death scene, which it tonally wasn't there. But that being said, those were the only kind of moments where I felt like, okay, they're overdoing the jokes, which is a good sign. I feel like the MCU is hopefully becoming a bit more self-aware of being overly quippy and doing too many jokes too often, and hopefully moving forward that is going to be something that we see less of, and we're going to see them kind of take themselves a little bit more seriously. Still have fun with it, still have your comic relief characters, but not make everybody, you know, a laugh a minute kind of character. Ultimately, we end with a post-credit scene, guys. The post-credit scene was interesting. We do see at the end of the film Kang dies, supposedly. I hope this Kang is not dead. I found him a really compelling variant, and he is threatening as heck. I want this to be the Kang that we see moving forward as the big Avengers level threat that he's going to grow into. We do end up seeing some other variants of Kang. So much fun to see Jonathan Majors in those different roles and those subtle nuances that he's bringing to each different variant. Looking forward to see where that goes, especially as we head towards Kang Dynasty. So, interested in seeing that. There is a second post-credit scene where we do basically see kind of a trailer for Loki Season 2. I kind of put it at that. All in all, I think it was a great night out. It's a lot of fun to go and see with a bunch of friends. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to have some crazy wacky moments which you would expect from the quantum realm. From an Ant-Man film, there's going to be obviously a good level of humor. Not as much as Thor: Love and Thunder. They did not overdo the humor to that level. That movie killed itself with attempted humor, and I just did not enjoy it. But you're going to end up seeing a hero you enjoy, a hero who grows into the role. We have Cassie growing as a hero in her own right throughout this film, and I'm interested to see what they do with her moving forward. I think she has a future in the MCU. Obviously, as a young Avenger, we're going to see where she goes with that. And we have a compelling villain. That is what's going to make this phase of the MCU. As soon as we got Thanos early on, we knew where we were heading. We now know, not just in name, you know, Kang. We know that Kang is going to, we've known for a long time anyway, that Kang is going to be the threat for this phase of the MCU. We have now met him in a frightening form. I think the fact that we now have an overarching villain who is threatening, who is scary, who is somebody we can actually get behind as a villain is going to be something that we're going to enjoy moving forward, and it's a really, really good sign for Phase 5. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. As always, been great chatting with you, and I'll see all of you guys in the next video.